Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beneath Your Feet, our weekly, monthly? What day is it? I'm tired. Oh, I'm so tired. But I'm excited to spend some time in Middle Earth with all of you. Cheers. Just drinking sparkly water, but it's cheers. We got Wagner in the chat. Wagner, like the composer. That's cool. Cool. Where was I? What was I saying? Yes. Good evening and welcome to Beneath Your Feet, the monthly Beneath Your Feet research stream. My name is Shoreless, and once a month we take a dive into a particular part of Middle Earth. It could be a particular region, zone, or in this case, a bunch of locales. Let us say, all of which is to prepare for the Beneath Your Feet podcast, which is a long-standing podcast in which I go through the lore, geography, history of the various lands of Middle Earth. And I'm so glad you're here with me. What we do on the stream is, like I said, we go deep in a particular area, but mostly I need your help as well. So all you lore junkies, you LOTRO veterans out there, you elf friends, I need you to just chime in the chat. Let me know what's up. Hit me with anything that you know, and I will include it in this month's podcast. And this month is a very special podcast because we are going to be checking out the homesteads of Eriador. What lore could there be behind the housing neighborhoods of the Lord of the Rings Online? Well, that's what we're going to find out tonight. And I think you might find that there is a surprising bit of lore and a surprising amount of nooks and crannies to be found in the various neighborhoods and homesteads of player housing. I'm here on the lovely Treebeard server on Penphalos, my High Elf champion, and we are among friends. Let's say. I wanted to make sure I started here in Bree to show off a particular area that you may or may not be aware of. This is the housing broker office. What's it called? Hold on. I'm going to turn my UI on here for a second. The broker's office. Yes. The housing broker's office. So if you didn't know, right here next to the Bree Town Hall is this office. All these poor Middle Earthians are stuffed in here doing paperwork all day to make your real estate dreams come true. And if you didn't know about it, what you can do is you can click on any of these guys, and they will pull up a menu, so you can go check out any dang old house you want. All right. But anyways, El Galadwin is in the house. What's up, El Galadwin? How are you now? Thanks for stopping by. All right. So, anyways, with all these guys, even here on the legendary server, you can go and check out, be magically whisked away to your dream home. Really, I mean, if you want to go check out the new Erebor housing, they'll zap you there. If you want to go check out Rohan housing, they'll zap you there. If you want to go see beautiful Gondor, they'll take you there. All of your wildest real estate dreams can be made true in the broker office of Breetown. So anyway, that's where I wanted to start. And then really what we're going to be doing is going door to door through all of the Eriador homesteads. So what do I mean? Eriador is, of course, the starting area between the mountains and the sea. And we're going to just stick with those. These are the ones you can get starting at level 15 on the cheap using game money. And then on top of that are the aforementioned premium houses. So there's two in Rohan. Now there's one in Erebor. And then the original was, I believe, in Gondor. We're not going to talk about those today for some reasons. But the main reason is because I believe I'm going to start heading to the Breetown or the Breeland homestead. The main reason is because I believe I'm going to be interviewing Yao, Oye, yeah. I don't know how you say their name, but they are the mastermind behind the French LOTRO housing website. I'm such a mess today, y'all. My big plan was to get all my research done, have some beautiful notes prepared for you guys. And part of that process was going to be making sure I knew how to pronounce their site properly, because I just kind of gloss over it. I didn't get that far. I apologize. So you know the one. Al Galwin has very kindly linked it in the chat. DC du Milieu. And it is in French and English. Anyway, I'm totally off track now. The ADHD is hitting hard tonight. Right, yeah. I'm not a native French speaker. Or a French speaker as a second language. But in any case, so Yeo, who is one of the masterminds behind that, the foremost LOTRO housing site on the market today, I'm going to be interviewing them hopefully next week, and they will be a part of the forthcoming episode about the homesteads of Eriador. So we're going to talk about how cool the housing areas are. We're going to talk about all the cool stuff you can put in your houses, design ideas, all that kind of stuff, to take a little break from the usual content. It's going to be similar to the pub crawl I did with Scenario back a couple months ago, where it's not just one part of Middle-earth, but it's a whole idea. It's a concept episode. And I'm getting pretty excited about it. And what's going to be great about tonight is I'm forcing myself to take the time to really just explore all these neighborhoods. I am almost ashamed to admit, Wagner, I don't know what you're talking about, buddy. I'm broke as a joke. So I don't know what you mean to say that you need some money. But if you want some game money, maybe I could hook you up. Anyways, for all my many, many years, literally off and on, some gaps larger than others, but off and on since beta. So 15, almost 16 years. I've been playing this game. And for most of that, to my undying shame, my attitude has been to just go, just to get the thing done. It is rare that I stop and smell the roses. And so that's partly why I'm doing this, because I know for a fact that there are spots in the all the housing neighborhoods that I just haven't seen. I was, where was I? Oh, even in Bree, running around Bree yesterday, there's one little spot I'm pretty sure I'd never noticed before. On the south end of Bree. And so there's always something new to discover in the Lord of the Rings online, especially if you're like me and you're very like accomplishment focused. I'm already going the wrong way. You might not stop and smell the roses. All right, so I've already taken a wrong turn. That's cool. I don't know that I've ever actually, speaking of which, I don't think I've ever seen this ranger camp before. Wow. Wagner's having a good time. I genuinely don't think I've ever seen this before. What is happening right now? Cucamonga. Yeah, I genuinely don't think I've ever seen this before. Oh, Galadwin, help me out. Should I have seen this before? Okay. Note to self. We're gonna get back on track. But I gotta come back and figure out what's going on here for Torthan's camp. Or maybe it's in Volume 3? Volume 3 where you collect all the rangers? Maybe that's where he is? I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that before. So as if to make my point, Eru himself has fated that I would find an undiscovered ranger camp, as I was talking about how there's always more to see in the Lord of the Rings online. What a world. Welcome aboard, Werewillow, my kinmate here on the Treebeard server. I'm glad you're here. They say, interesting introduction to Middle-earth housing. A nice, cozy tent. Yes, well, we can't all have luxurious Bree houses or hobbit holes. Some of us are fated to live in the wilds. Yeah, I don't. If I did that quest, I don't remember it at all. And that was kind of my point in my poor Landravalian characters are neglected because I've been so focused on Treebeard when I'm playing LOTRO. A lot of games on my radar. And part of the reason why I've been investing so much time on Treebeard is because it's my way of kind of going back and filling in the gaps, as it were, of my Lord of the Rings Online experience. Because, as I said, I've been very accomplishment focused in the past. And so if I take a year or 2 or 5 off, I wanted to just jump in, elbow drop, and get right back to it. And so I would skip over anything that wasn't at the level cap. And yet I still miss Torthan's camp. Galadwin says, Landy misses me. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I was going back and forth, and I really meant to get in there for to play the new instance, the Hrimil's Lair, but alas, it is not meant to be. All right, so let's start by talking about all these names, because this is something I had never really thought about until today, which is the actual story behind player housing. So they had to, they had to make an honest effort when they introduced housing into the game. I'm not exactly sure when that was. I might have to look into that. And so you can't just say, yeah, come have a house in Bree. We have to be respectful of Middle Earth at all times and respectful of the source material. And LOTRO does a great job of that. Oh, by the way, if you leave, you can leave the stream. I won't be offended because Nerd of the Rings over on YouTube is interviewing, I don't know if it's Made of Lions, but one of the main lore people behind the Lord of the Rings Online. So make sure you check that out as well. They may not talk about housing, but it'll be very interesting. So with that in mind, they had to have some way to explain the fact that strangers were moving into all these spots in Eriador, and in particular in Breeland and so on. And so if you are not like me and you actually pay attention to the quests, when you go to Bree or Mickle Delving or Thorns Hall or Duiland, you will notice that right about here, in the case of Bree, right where we just were actually by the Bree Town Hall, is a quest called the Homesteads of Eriador. Hence the name of the podcast episode. Anyway, and if you actually sit and read that, it's all on the LOTRO wiki. If you're like me and you've already done it, if you sit and read that, it offers a little snippet of an explanation about why these neighborhoods are popping all over the place. So what they said for Bree was it was perfect. It lined up perfectly with the books, and it says that there are all these Southerners coming up from the south. There's some trouble down way south ways, somewhere maybe down here, Dunland, Gondor, everywhere in between. So they're coming up the Greenway, they're settling in Bree, and so the people of Bree decided, we just need to build a new neighborhood. And that's kind of the in-game explanation of that. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. But the reason why I want to point out the names is because I really, truly like the idea of just a new village popping up in the Breeland. Maybe Crickwent, maybe Duro, maybe Blackwall. All the names are just right, by the way. Maybe Staffold, whatever. And then that kind of fitting into the overall, into the Breeland itself, the sort of trio of towns that's already there on Bree Hill. Of course, I'm talking about Archit, Combe, Staddle, and Bree itself. So it's kind of like, what's one more village south of Bree Hill? So I thought that was an interesting and cool way to fit player housing into the broader narrative and lore. I'm going to give you something better to look at than this in just a second, but I do have a quote from the book that I thought was very interesting, and that was maybe the impetus behind some of that. Wagner, how are you now? All right, so the first thing we notice is that it is kind of hemmed in by rocks. I'd be curious to see what you guys think. One of the things I actually prefer is when they do that magical force field around the end of a zone. For some reason, I like that more than the downy hillsides as a zone border. What do you guys think about that? Because to me, it's obviously more natural to have a hill boundary, but oftentimes it doesn't make sense. Like, there's just this massive dell valley here in the Breeland. Although I guess it could kind of be sandwiched in the South Downs. I don't know. But I just don't like the way that looks. But that's just me, though. Some people love it. Even if there's just a false force field there that's kind of breaking the fourth wall in a sense, I prefer that, at least in Middle Earth. But anyway, so we see here that this Bree village, this homestead, is in this, I don't know, I keep wanting to say dell. I don't know what kind of landform that would be. I guess it would be a dell. Or a dingle. And we have a reedy fishing hole here. And the kin house, which is massive. And you can see the kind of Edwardian, this would be Edwardian or Victorian architecture with the white daub siding and the wooden slats and all that. I thought that was a good fit for Bree, and that's typically how Bree is depicted in various representations. So let me give you something interesting to look at here while I pull it up from the book. So first of all, I talked about how the story behind the housing of Bree in particular, really all the books, but or all the neighborhoods, but Bree in particular was really hemmed in quite nicely. So this is a quote from the Sign of the Prancing Pony when the hobbits arrived there. They're at the pony and they are overhearing conversation at from the dwarves and the men and the hobbits there. And it says there was trouble away in the south, and it seemed that the men who had come up the greenway were on the move, looking for lands where they could find some peace. The Bree folk were sympathetic, but plainly not very ready to take a large number of strangers into their little land. One of the travelers, a squint-eyed, ill-favored fellow, was foretelling that more and more people would be coming north in the near future. If room isn't found for them, they'll find it for themselves. They've right to live, same as other folk, he said loudly. The local inhabitants did not look pleased at the prospect. So I really like that quote. And it could be, you could kind of take it as maybe counter to the story, where the Breelanders were not terribly excited about all these south runs coming up to take into their, set up shop in their land. But it's easy to think of the kind Breelanders changing their minds. And the quest, the Homesteads of Eriador, also mentions that there is trouble up north, which we as player characters get into directly in Angmar. So it's easy to imagine more people coming down from the north and Estilled into the North Downs and areas like that. So I think it makes sense. Yeah, Where Willow makes a good point, saying that it's frustrating to see a place that you can't actually go to regarding borders. I get that. That makes sense. Yeah, I could see that, because if you're trying to give players a sense of boundary, then these sort of hillsides we're looking at here, they make sense, because as you say, you can't walk through walls. So it's a very obvious cutoff point. Although I think the world builders have done a bit of a better job of kind of hiding that as they've gone on. But I don't know. Okay, I think let's talk about this. Let me get a better vantage point. I think the transition from the first half of the neighborhood to the second is pretty interesting. So let's get up a little higher so we can get a good look at that. Okay, first of all, I've never been up here before. I didn't notice there was a gazebo up here. This is how dedicated the folk of Bree are. They will not even put their bows down when they're dancing a jig. Goodness, this guy looking like he had a little too much coffee. Okay. Anyway, what I was saying was down here, it's a little flatter, more open. There's more water. And then here it becomes more forested. And I think that's a pretty smart design move, because it is, it invokes the Chetwood. So I think that's pretty interesting as well. Now, I have noticed this before. I think I thought it was part of housing decor, but it's just a ruin here. So that's a nice touch, because it invokes it reminds us of the fact that this was all once the kingdom of Arthedain. Which is kind of cool, because they've kind of speckled these all over the Bree land and all of Eriador, really. So it makes sense, and is quite nice that they would want to keep that in the Bree homestead as well. And then, so we're in the back half of the Bree neighborhood, and this speaks to what I was saying before about how I've often just kind of rushed through and gone for convenience. I've spent almost no time on this part of the neighborhood, because even if I chose a house in Bree on a particular server or character, I'm always picking the one that's closest to the town center. Al Galadwin said these are the most obnoxious NPCs. What? Okay, so I'm kind of interested in this now. Which, are they complaining about the ruin? All right, let's talk to him. No, you can't interact with these guys. Are they going to start talking? I don't think it's because they have the UI off. Let's see. Oh, it's just in the say. All right. We'll come back to that later. That's funny. Okay. That seems very Bree-ish, though, right? You have this incredible ancient ruin. Um, they complain about it being gaudy or something. That's very funny. So as I was saying, I've often stuck with the. Oop, love that. I've often stuck with the houses that are closest to the town center because town services are just they're half the reason to buy a house besides just the fun of decorating and owning your own little slice of Middle Earth. And so this area in particular, uh, this area in particular is a little bit alien to me. They say, "Who put this here? Why is it here?" That's hilarious. Oh, rustic Bree folk. Bree folk are basically just giant hobbits. I'm sure most of you have made that connection, but they're basically the closest you can get to mannish hobbits, which I love. And this is primo real estate here, right on the waterfall. All right, what about y'all? What's your favorite house, your favorite spot in the Bree neighborhood? What do you think? Like I'm just trespassing all over the yards. Here we are in the town center, which I quite like. Get your skirmish camp. Got your guy there, and of course your town services. Yeah, the forest area is nice. The real Nat says anything by the river. Oh yeah, water's just so nice. Wagner says north of Bree. What do you mean? What do you mean, Wagner? You just like that area, like the Bree fields? Well, back pain Junior. I'm sorry you're having back pain. I've been there. 3 Long Street on Goodstoke on Arkenstone. Which one is 3 Long Street? Let's find that. Let's find Wagner's, or let's find back pain's house. Wagner. Oh yeah, I would love to. So Wagner's talking about those houses and that whole settlement kind of north of Bree. There's like the Chetwood and then Nenharn and all that area. It's such a cool area. I wish there were more just empty spots like that. And moreover, I think it would be really cool to, I don't know, be able to set up a camp or a house or something out there. That'd be neat. I know that Scenario said they're already working on another bit of premium housing, even though Eriador just came out. And there was a little bit of a hint that it might be Hobbit related. But man, I would pay out the nose for just some very exclusive housing. Like if you could have an apartment in Bree or just a cottage out in the middle of nowhere. Man, I would love that. What do you mean? You might want more gold related back pain? Oh, like just gold colored houses. So quick side note: this is on Landreval. This is where I have my inn. I bought a kin house, started a kin and bought a kin house a couple years ago just so I could make it into a giant inn. And I haven't touched it in like 6 months, maybe a year, but I'm still quite happy with it. So we'll have to show that off sometime. Oh yes, 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 yes. I okay. This is something we should discuss. Um, yeah, Nat and Backpain Junior are both talking about more houses you can buy with just game money as opposed to going into the store. Now, number one, I don't expect that because, especially with the news we got this month about how they're making most of the game free. Oh, here we are at 3 Long Street. This is a great spot, nice and high up. So, besides the fact that they're making much more of the game free, uh, it means that they're going to be depending more on cosmetics and stuff for their income. So I would love to see more options for housing and other things you can buy with game gold. I just don't expect that we're going to see it. So having said that, oh, for long the deluxe house. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I don't expect it. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't expect it either. What I would do, however, is I'd be happy to pay Ritz just to have more houses in the Eriador neighborhoods, the original. What do we call these? The vanilla, the original neighborhoods, the Eriador homesteads. Anyways, I would pay big money. Okay, for long. Yeah, my wife has this house. She hasn't touched it in like a year, 2 years, but she has this house right across from the inn on Landreval. Yeah, they definitely need more of a gold sink. Yeah, these trees are great. I don't know where these trees came from. It looks like the what you call it? What's that instance? King Crimson. First of all, King Crimson's not a terrible band. It looks like that. What's that newish instance where you fight the tree? You're like in the old forest. Looks like that. I also like that the stream is just like me showing off my ADHD because I can't keep a train of thought rolling for more than 10 seconds. Woe of the Willow, that's the one. Okay. Oh, Galadwin says it's the Athelian housing pack. You'll love to see it. So yeah, I think that we will not see a lot more housing you can pay with game money. If they want more of my real money, then they need to let me buy more dangle Shire Hobbit holes using Ritz or Mithril. I don't care, but I want more houses. I just want more houses in the Shire. All right, let's get out of here. All right, so that's the Bree neighborhood. Let's see. Let's see if there's anything I forgot to talk about. The only thing we really, one note I did have. The only thing we really get in terms of a description of Bree-ish architecture is when the hobbits arrive at the Pony. They talk about how the buildings are just tall, obviously because they're hobbits and they're made of stone. So we don't get a lot of a description. So I was saying this kind of Edwardian, rustic architecture, I think was a good choice. All right, where to next? Where shall we go next? We can go to Shire Housing, Falathlorn, or Thorns Hall. As I quench my thirst. All right, back pain has called it. Oh, okay. So the abodes of Erebor. I need to go check that out. Maybe after stream. The dwarves shall not have my money though. Thorns Hall Homestead. Let's go. Actually, let's go to Thorns Gate. We'll have a nice little ride out of town. But yeah, Reninia, if you're watching, and we know that you are, open up Eriador housing for Ritz. I want a whole Shire neighborhood to myself, even if it costs me tens of dollars. Right. So through the magic of swift travel, we are here in the Blue Mountains. Now, let's take a second to just admire Thorns Hall. I mentioned the description of the Bree houses in the book. We get no such, even though that one was kind of sparse, we get no such description of Thorns Hall in the book. We don't even actually see it. Okay. So in the Unfinished Tales, if I remember correctly, there's a scene where, excuse me, no cove, Gandalf goes and visits Thorn and Company here at Thorns Hall. Basically just to convince them that they need a burglar and that in particular they need Bilbo, if I remember correctly. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't actually describe it. So what we do have is Moria, that's kind of it, and the Lonely Mountain, and then of course all the wonderful interpretations that have come off of that. And in particular, again, I'm referencing Scenario because he's one of the more vocal and active devs, especially with his wonderful casual walks, casual strolls, whatever they're called. I always get that confused because there used to be a LOTRO podcast called A Casual Stroll to Mordor. So on his live stream, he talks a lot about the behind the scenes type stuff. I've never been up here. We're going to take a side trip, gang. Hope you don't mind. And he did, I think he did Thorns Hall. I think he started in Thorns Hall, and then it was when he was previewing the Erebor housing. And he was, I don't know if somebody mentioned it in chat or if he was just referencing it, but people, again, 15 years, never been on the spot. Wow. It's a day of new beginnings, folks. Anyway, he was saying that people have complained, or people have asked the question of like, why is there so much stuff here in Thorns Hall? And the lore doesn't really say one way or the other. It just tells us that Thorn and his followers came here after they were driven out of the Lonely Mountain, and then in particular when they were driven out of Dunland. And his point, Scenario's point, was that their dwarves, meaning the dwarves of LOTRO, their version of the Longbeards, are just especially productive. And I thought that was an interesting take because, we're just going to eat this, so I don't want to go back down around. I thought that was an interesting take because I have a feather fall in my pocket and I forgot. But it makes sense. I think, especially if you want to have these dwarf sites just kind of popping up. Like, I'm thinking of the one in the North Downs, the name of which escapes me. If you want to have these outposts all over the place, it just kind of makes sense that the dwarves might build a little quicker than we might imagine. So the story here in Eriador, in the Thorns Hall Homesteads, is that since the dower hands have been removed, the dwarves of Thorns Hall have been more productive, more prosperous, and more longbeards have shown up. So again, if you never really explored this area, all this sort of industrial architecture is left over from the time the dower hand dwarves took over. And the story behind that is when Thorn and company were left, when they left on their mission, it sort of opened this window for the dower hands to step in and to begin to take over this part. And that's the introductory quest for the dwarves. Yeah, Backpain is making the point that Thorns Hall is relatively small in comparison to the Lonely Mountain, and especially to Moria. And I think that's right, because if you go into if you go into Thorns Hall, it's really just like three wings, right? There's kind of a northern area, eastern and western, and then if you count the bar underneath. So it is definitely way smaller. So some industrious dwarves could throw it up in a generation or two. I think that's completely reasonable. Othric, yes, thank you, El Galadwin. I appreciate the reminder. So anyways, the Homesteads of Eriador quest tells us that after the dower hands were kicked out, more dwarves are showing up. They're more prosperous. They need to expand to get a little elbow room. And so they constructed this homestead here across the way. So let's go check it out. A-Turn, you are most welcome. I enjoy it. I think it's fun to do this, especially when my computer's lagging. I don't know about these. All right, let's just pick one, and then I'll share my thoughts on the dwarf naming conventions. Valorem, thanks for stopping by. I too am happy this game is still kicking, and it seems to be in good shape. Really, I think I'd been on a couple years break when I started playing again in early 2020, which was fortuitous because, like so many of you, I would have a lot of time to play for the rest of 2020. And it seemed like when I came back, they were having a bit of a rough patch. Mordor had not been well received. Minas Morgul had just come out. But it seems like since then, the design's been great. It's been picking up steam. They got a new captain at the helm in Reninia. So yeah, it's a great time. If you are watching this and you don't play LOTRO for some reason, it's a great time to get back into LOTRO. All right, so I look forward to your input for the Thorns Hall Homestead because this was my first neighborhood when I started playing back in the day. But I feel like this is the most, in typical dwarf fashion, this is the most, what's the word I'm trying to find here? It's got the most crannies. So whatever adjective means crannyful. Craniful? Cranifers? It's got the most hidden spots for us to scope out. Why don't you think the old timers won't come back pain? They just sick of all these newfangled kids with their doobly-doos. Ah, that's a good point. So Backpain is saying that some of the older updates, like the aforementioned Mordor, maybe left a bad taste in their mouth. That's interesting. So maybe it was maybe it was fortuitous that I did not play during the Mordor years, because I quit Read about Helm's Deep, came back, played through a bunch of Gondor quests, quit, came back, like I said, early 2020. So maybe I quit at the exact right times. Maybe my kids were born at just the right time. That was very nice of them. You're saying that there was a pay to win tendency back then, or there's a pay to win tendency now? I guess if you're talking about the old LI system, I could see that leaving a nasty impression on some people. You played through Minas Morgul. Hmm. Yeah, I guess I could see that with some of the Splendor stuff. The grinding, I think it's okay. Preface: I'm a fanboy. I do a podcast and a stream for this game, and I love the Lord of the Rings, so my opinion is skewed. But I think a lot of the grind, to be fair, the grind was bad, especially in Minas Morgul. It might still be bad. I don't really know. Um, but a lot of it has to do with what you're attempting to use the game for. So if you're just here to kind of get in the stories and scope out Middle Earth, it's not really much of a grind, not much of a pay to win thing. But yeah, if you want to have the your LI tricked out and you want to have max gear and max faction, especially with Minas Morgul, because I feel like the Reclamation, whatever that was called, had like 12 tiers. So I could definitely see people getting burnt out on that. Oh yeah, if you were Raiders, forget about it. Yeah, I could definitely see that being rough. How'd you like that twist at the end, dogs? At the end of the Minas Morgul story. All right, so here we are. I feel like there's something. Yeah, there's a house up there. We got to figure out how to get up there. I can't remember. And I want to definitely get over to that snowy area. Then we kind of got to jog on. Because I usually try to keep this to about an hour. Right. Let's do the snowy bit first, and we'll see if we can get higher up. And I like that this was kind of I'm just thinking of this now. This is kind of a foreshadowing of all the verticality they were going to play with in Moria and Gundabad. I almost quit Gundabad because there's particular areas where the finding stuff in the vertical space was just too much. And I like that this is kind of a baby teaser of that. Oh, you still do harrowing. Good for you. Yeah, I think it was a great expansion. I can definitely see Backpain's point of view where it was grindy, but it was a good expansion. All right, so what do we make of this? I'm not going out. Whoa, maybe I do want to go down there. Could that be a cave? Deep's Crave. Yes, yes, El Galdwin. You weren't you the one that sent me the map so I didn't like give up on the game entirely? Etern, are you playing on any of the legendary servers, like our beloved Treebeard here? How the heck do I get up? All right, I'm all over the place. So, what do we think of this? This crack in the sky. I guess that's all right. I don't know if there are a lot of geological formations that look like this, but I know it looks dang cool. Yeah, Etern, if you have the means, I know it takes a subscription, but if you have the means, I would recommend Treebeard because the slower pace has allowed me to enjoy stuff more and really dig into the areas in ways that I hadn't. So if you're interested, we're going to Mirkwood in June. So if I remember correctly, so if you have the time and the means, I would definitely recommend Treebeard because it's proven to be about 6 months per expansion, which is plenty of time to explore around. Hmm. Yeah, dogs. I don't know about that. I'd have to go back and play it again to make up my mind about whether or not it was rushed. The lower level stuff you really can't go wrong with. All right, we're going down there. All right, we're gonna go up and around. Then I'm jumping down there. I'm gonna check that out. This area is super cool. And again, it was built well before Moria, if my memory serves. but it still teases the 21st hall and all the pillars that they built. I think this part is so cool. I like that the locales are varied in that way as well, because they could have just been one big hall with like houses attached, but they give you a lot of variation with the snowy area in particular, and then with the bits of dwarvish architecture here and there. It's super cool. I love it. Oh, that's cool. I've never been up here. The Deadly Three. I wonder how many people are in that kinship. Here we are in our last stop on Thorns Hall. I think I missed some spots over there, but that's okay. Up here at the tippity top of the neighborhood, we get a little bit of snowfall. Mandalorian's got a house up here. That's cool. Yeah, some of these are behind those walls. You can see that's. I always found that interesting. All right, let's explore down here because I've genuinely never been. I've never noticed this down here before. We're gonna see. Hello. Let me open my inventory and get my feather fall out. Uh-oh, what's this? Usage blocked by an active. What? What? That can't be right. What would be okay for real? What would be blocking my ability to use? Oh, okay. I just don't know how to read. This is not the feather fall. This is run speed boost, which conflicts with my high elf racial classic. So, oh, there's one. One leg's broken. All right, here we go, gang. Let's see. Let's go check this out. Oh, it's gonna get bad. Elendil. Oof. All right, we made it. I'm alive. Oh, and there's nothing down here. Man, I thought, what? What the what? Somebody tell me what this is. I've never seen this before. So I thought for sure there was a cave, but there's not. There's a grate. But there is a portal. All right, oh my goodness. We got to figure this out. I'm putting my controller down. I'm picking up my keyboard, so you know this is serious. So if I jump, it's a door that's not a door. Yeah, could be. Time to mount up. All right, I don't want to waste too much time with this, but I'm just curious now. So I'm going to jump. We're going to try one more jump. Maybe I can catch it on the way down. Then we got to jog on here. Swim for your life, you crazy elf. What if it's just a bug? There's just nothing there. Come on. You notice my spring attire. I hope everyone's having a good Spring Fest, by the way. I'm so behind. If any of you caught B4 on his stream today, or Little Redheads, they are maniacs, and they are like crushing it across multiple characters. I'm having a very leisurely Spring Fest experience. I've only done one loop, so I gotta step it up to make sure I get all my goodies. All right, let's try this again. Fundir. Okay, so yeah, dogs. The maze is cool. I feel like I still don't have a rhythm with it. Okay, so where was it? It was right above the icicles, right? The fields thing, what is it, the bull roar challenge? That's fun, but it's so out of the way. All right, let's see. Man, I don't want to mess this up. All right, let's go over here. Oh, dadgummit. I already messed it up again. Okay, we're gonna have to come back to this later. What could it be, though? Is it just a glitch? Let me in. Let me in. So, let me get my compass out here. How would we map our trajectory if we're going to do this? because there. Let me zoom in again. All right, so there's the Kravis, and then there's the thing right there. 2,000 lives of men I have lived, and yet I have no time. Wait a minute, can we jump up there? Why is there platforming in an old-timey MMO? Am I wasting my time here, kids? Is this just a bug that needs to be reported and not something to be, not an Easter egg to be found? I gotta try one more time. I cannot live with myself if I don't. We'll just have a longer stream than usual. Am I missing something? All right. Hey, Turn, I completely agree. We can never go back, and I don't know if it's impossible to go back or not. I feel like Cord said something about how like they don't even have the old data from the SOA days, but you definitely get more of a vibe with Treebeard. Last one for real. But if you find something Were Willow, I want to hear about it. There was, speaking of people who prefer the old days, there was a kin on Landreval. Now I can't think of what it was. That they popped on their turtle stones at level 50 and they only did SOA content. I thought that was so interesting, but I can't think of what that was. I think it had a fancy Quenya name. All right, last go. Okay. So it was right above here. Last try. Come on, baby. Be there, be there, be there. Parkour. See, I can't even see the icicles. Thank you, dogs. Here we go. Going in. Wish me luck. Here I go. Yeah! I missed it. Oh, well. It was a valiant effort. That's how I got me eye patch. By doing stupid stuff like that. Let's head to the Shire. All right, so we've been all over Eriador this fine evening. Yeah, let us know. Any of you who try that, just at me. You see my handle there on the screen. Just at me. So, anyways, we've been all over Eriador, and now we find ourselves in the Shire here in our kid neighborhood. I believe we've almost got the whole neighborhood on lockdown in our not so hasty kinship. Were Willow, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're close. So anyways, we've been talking about how there are, that's my house by the way, how there are in-game explanations for each of these homesteads. And so this is a new Shire village that was built because prosperity. That's literally like the only reason they give. They talk about, the quest text talks about how, oh, there's another one of those trees. The quest text talks about, easy for me to say. Oh, I didn't know this was Gale's house. Nice. Talks about how the trade with Bree and all the stuff, it's the most prosperous time in Shire history. So I don't really know where they're getting that from. It's a pretty important motif in the story that the Shire is well protected and that the hobbits have never really known hardship. Not since the fell winter when the wolves attacked, and that's in large part thanks to the goodwill of the Rangers and their protection, as well as other people like Gandalf. And so, oh, you put that tree there, Were Willow. Well done. That's a great look. Just especially there. Oh, so nice, nice touch. Did you design Gale's whole house? Sorry, just some kinship talk happening. So anyway, I don't know how that equates to financial, economic prosperity. But, you know, it's kind of like Bree. Like, what's another village in the Shire? What's another community in the Shire? Dude, what is that? I've not seen that before either. Is that a store thing? Or do you get that from Heligrod? I don't know. All right. So kind of like as we saw how Bree transitions from a flatter riverland to the forest, and how Thorns Hall transitions from cave, typical dwarf stuff, to that open, snowy area. We get some of the same here in the Shire neighborhood where, oh, we have a lovely view of the sun coming up. We have the more the village down there, and then across the water we have this big open field. One annoying thing, and I understand it's a balance thing because you can't have neighborhoods with stuff that other neighborhoods don't have. You can't farm on these fields, which is quite annoying. Who's that? Do I know you? Oh no, it's the Black Rider. Run away. Thank you, Werewillow. Werewillow says that dragon comes from the Anak Kurfu missions, which I have yet to really sink my teeth into. The dwarf era. Yes, you're right, Nat. So anyway, we have some lovely fields here. Again, we're kind of hemmed in by this artificial hill boundary, but I mean, let's think about it. Let's look at the map. Could it be plausible that there would be hills here? I don't know. Far Downs are this way, so maybe there's some foothills of the Far Downs. The South Farthing, I don't know there's as much described in the book. But anyway, I digress. So what do we get from the books about Hobbit housing? Not a lot, in fact. The prologue. Oh no, Werewillow, don't look. Cover your eyes. It's an artificial boundary. We can't get through. Hello, neighbors. So the prologue talks about the settling of the Shire and things like that. And I have another quote I'm going to read as we wind things down and start heading towards Elflands. And there's, you know, the contrast between Hobbit holes and Hobbit houses. Now, most of the housing here in this neighborhood are just straight up houses. Or kind of half and half. I don't know that there are any proper Hobbit holes here. Boom. That's exactly right, Nat. We'll picnic out in the field someday. That'll be nice. So I don't know that any of these are proper holes. Maybe Gilivernon's house is... That was that one over there by the waterfall with the beautiful purple tree. Most of them are houses. So let's get a good view. And I'll read you the quote, because that's the most important thing we can do. Back to the roots. It says, all hobbits had originally lived in holes in the ground, or so they believed, and in such dwellings they still felt most at home. But in the course of time, they had been obliged to adopt other forms of abode. Actually, in the Shire in Bilbo's days, it was, as a rule, only the richest and the poorest hobbits that maintained the old custom. The poorest went on living in burrows of the most primitive kind, mere holes indeed, with only one window or none, while the well-to-do constructed more luxurious versions of the simple diggings of old. But suitable sites for these, large and ramifying tunnels, or smeals as they called them, were not everywhere to be found. So I guess that makes sense why there would not be that many smeals in the neighborhood. So in the flats and low-lying districts, the hobbits, as they multiplied, began to build above ground. Indeed, even in the hilly regions and the older villages, such as Hobbiton or Tuckborough, or in the chief township of the Shire, Mickle Delving on the White Downs, there were now many houses of wood, brick, or stone. So sure, it totally makes sense that we would have more houses than holes here in the Shire. Yeah, and I love that they, Nat, I love that they don't go upstairs. They don't do boats and they don't do stairs. They're too sensible for all that newfangled stuff. This is arguably a hole. Now, there is of course the magic of, there's some video game magic in that if we win in this house, is this open? Is this a kinmate? Judging by their doorstep, they have not been around since Halloween. But we can go in. Hello. So if we go in here, I guess being one of the smaller ones, it's not quite like that. But if you go in any of the kin holes, is like huge. So it kind of becomes a whole. It's like those Animal Crossing houses. It's like this teeny little cottage, but then you go inside and it's like a four bath, 4 bedroom. All right. Now this area, this neighborhood I've most explored. Honey cakes. I use this a lot to craft. I've most explored because well, I live here and I just love the Shire. So I don't think there are too many secrets to be had here. Let's do one last look as we pass down to town center, and we see a nice little cluster of hobbit holes. I think these might be proper hobbit holes. Nat, this is Treebeard, and like I said in particular, this house is mostly occupied by our kinship, Not So Hasty. So everyone's pretty active on here. So this one looks like a proper hole, and this one looks like a proper smeal. Yeah, that's how it's dug into the side there. Yeah, I think Werewilla might be able to give us the scoop here because I think there's a lot of separate accounts or alts or things like that. Everyone, I think most people in the neighborhood are connected to our kinship. All right, so that was the Shire. And again, there's not a lot of hidden away spots here like there was in Thorns Hall. We just have beautiful touches like the willow tree, and there's like a party tree here. I love that stuff. It looks so cool. For winning ways the best. Well, you got to have your own little spot, don't you? Oh, Nat, your kinship is gone. Why? What'd you do? Did you scare them all off? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that sucks. But come and join us on Treebeard. It's happy here. Huzzah! Everyone's sailing west. Well, I could not have asked for a better segue to our last neighborhood of the night than Nat mentioning the elves leaving Middle Earth. So let's finish up with the Falath Lorn. A quick look at the elf one. This is one I'm least familiar with, and I'll tell you why in just a second. Yeah, Jacoby, that was, we just saw the Black Rider. He frightened me pretty well. All right, so for our last stop, we are here in the Air Lewin, the Falath Lorn Homesteads. So we are... Okay, so here's Duiland, here's Kellendam, the elf starter area. We are across the River Loon, just before the Shire, where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Yonder Shire is going to go. So we were here, now we're here, and then this area in between is where Yonder Shire is going to be placed to kind of finally, after all these years, connect the two zones. And then the Grey Havens is a little bit further to the west. West is certainly the direction that is of most import here because that's where all those elves want to go. So dogs, if you really want to live in the lap of luxury, you got to get you a kinship with some people with some money, and they will buy... Excuse me. They will buy those crafting facilities from the store, stick them in their yard, and then you can craft in your neighborhood. All right, so we'll skip the bit about names. Ooh. Okay. So Galdwin is saying that you can see a bridge in Yonder Shire if you look past the waterfall in the northeast corner of the neighborhood. That's cool. All right, that's a good little bug, or a little nice little tidbit. We're going to check that out for sure. So, last one for the night. We were saying how each one of these, you can see Duiland in the distance there, each one of these has a little story to kind of fit it into Middle-earth. And the story here is that there are more elves coming to this part of the world for a few different reasons. Some are obviously leaving Middle-earth. But even in that case, sometimes there's a wait, as Círdan clearly has a backlog of ships to build. And building a ship is just not that... it's not as easy as it might sound. Hello. Is that what you're talking about, Galadwin? Just over here? Let me see if I'm doing this right, and then I'll get back on track. That's the northeast corner, all right. Let's check it out. I see that little thing over there by the waterfall. I guess that's the Undershire Bridge she was talking about. Cool. So anyways, there are elves here who are waiting to leave Middle-earth, and there are elves who live here to help with the process. I guess they commute to the Grey Havens from this part of the mountains. Yeah, okay, yeah, you can kind of see it over there. That's so cool. Man, I can't wait for your Undershire to go live. So neat. And so they threw up this neighborhood, who knows how long ago, to accommodate the many elves. Now, the reason why I'm not as familiar with this one is because I just don't like the architecture that much. Like, the exterior is fine. It's kind of reminiscent of Rivendell. Let's see if Olena's home. Oh, it's locked. Um, but the interior, I'm not crazy about. Let me mount up here. If we can break into one of these houses, I'll show you what I mean. Oh, this one's open. Like, come on, let's check this out. You see what I mean? It's just kind of plain. It's rounded. Sure, it's got an upstairs, but I don't know. I don't know what it is about this. I just don't care for it. Like, it's just I don't know. It's like octagonal. It's weird. Not my cuppa. Where Willis says that was the waterfall that scenario fell through. Classic. Yeah, I agree, John. I think it's just boring architecture, but the trees, man. Oh, the trees. Rivendell, dude. People who say Rivendell, I generally am a very tolerant person, but if you say Rivendell, or if you don't hyphenate Middle Earth, I might have to come over there and talk to you. Oh, that's cool. Godwin is saying that she made her elf house look like a Malorn tree in Lorien. That's a great approach. I guess maybe that's something to consider. Maybe I haven't seen one of these houses properly decorated. Speaking of crafting facilities, look at this beauty. So nice. Back pain's back. Hope your back's feeling better, bud. All right. Oh, this is the it right here. Yeah, man. If I could just get over myself and not worry so much about the interior of the house, I could wake up to this every day. It's such a beautiful view. Yeah, Jacoby's talking about the textures just don't look right. I agree. I don't know if maybe they use like older assets, or if like the angles just didn't fit right. It just looks weird to me. But it might be worth getting over to wake up to these beautiful cherry blossoms or whatever kind of tree this might be. Completely agree, Nat. The bread oven is definitely better than the Gondorian stove, but the Gondorian stove is still cool. Hello, neighbor. Now this one I did get to explore a bit last year when we went trick or treating. There was one on Landreval. There was one neighborhood in particular that had like the perfect setup for trick or treating, so I did explore it a bit then. Now this is kind of cool too because you have the artificial rock walls. That's what it is, but it makes sense because we're in the Blue Mountains. But then you also have a clear view of Duiland and Kellendon below, which kind of makes up for it. So that's kind of neat. Unfortunately, we are going to drive El Galadwin crazy because she's also trying to find that weird portal, to go through that weird portal in Thorns Hall to no avail. Sorry. I hope, if you need to go through some counseling or something, you just let me know. I'll buy you a coffee. All right, we are nearing the end of our tour of homes here, friends. Um, I'm not really seeing any interesting tidbits here in this neighborhood. It looks great, but there's just not no little Easter eggs or anything like that. Nat, you just broke my brain. Nat said that portal in Thorns Hall would probably take you to the cat lady house in Bree. What? I hope that's true. I'm gonna bug Cordovan about that. All right, I do like this. This is nice, very pretty, very cool, very fun. If you haven't noticed, I'm grabbing screenshots here, mostly for YouTube thumbnails. Jacoby says elf stuff is always the most boring. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of coming around. I really like the elves in the book. I feel like they have a lot more dimension than they do, especially in the Silmarillion, than they do in the films or other adaptations, even the Lord of the Rings online. I feel like they get kind of painted one color where they're just like so sad and depressed. Oh my gosh, I gotta get on a boat and go home. But in the book, they have a lot more wrinkles to them. I was just rereading The Fellowship to my kid, and I don't know if the narrator says this or if one of the hobbits says it, but he talks about how like there's all different kinds of elves. Some are lordly and some are like merry as children. And so I think some of that's lost, and even some of that is reflected in the architecture. It's like a weird Oh, this is cool. It's like a weird interpretation of the Jackson movies, which is in itself an interpretation of the Alan Howe art. Lorien's a little bit different in the Lord of the Rings Online. I think Lorien has a lot of character. But anyways, I digress. Right, exactly. They hate Trallalally coming to the valley. Like, they're silly. They like to make fun of dwarves and their beards. So I think that's a misrepresentation when you hear an NPC say, "The sorrows of the Eldar know no bounds." Oh yeah, the spirals are ridiculous, especially on Lothlorien. Ooh, high elf with a beard. I don't know. Is Círdan the only elf with a beard? I don't know. That might be something. The sorrow of the Eldar knows no bounds. I cannot sing today. Just drama, kids. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for me and for this edition of Beneath Your Feet. I'm so grateful that all of you hung out with me tonight. It was so fun. I had a great time exploring the mysteries of the homesteads of Eriador with you. I hope you had a good time. Maybe you learned a little something. And look forward to this episode. It's going to be great. We're going to talk about everything that we explored today. We're going to interview, like I said, Yayo of the Milieu Housing blog. It's going to be a good time. So we'll see you next month. If you want to talk to me, I'm at Shoreless Skies everywhere. If you have any suggestions for the next place we should explore on next month's research stream, let me know because I'm running out of ideas. And if you're ever on the Treebeard server, you can find me as Penphalos. And that's going to be it for me. Again, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. If you're like me and you're about to have spring break, have a great spring break. And I'll see you in Middle-earth. And I'll see you next time when we go Beneath Your Feet. Bye.